Hello and welcome to this presentation from the Urban Penguin. My name is Andrew Mallett and today we're going to dive back into Systemd unit files and we're going to take a look at the path unit file so we can monitor files and directories and trigger services upon changes. Come on, let's look and see how this is done. And look at this, our glorious Pixel Playground. A Pixel Playground that is made up of Rocky 9.3. When we go through and take a look at our hostname CTL, of course we'll get a printout of this, but the main thing is that we're working on a modern Linux distribution that is Systemd based. And we're going to be able to take a look at the purpose and how we use Systemd path units. The first thing that we can begin with is by taking a look at systemctl and take a look for existing path units. So if I go through to list-unit files, of course we get to see a lot of different types of files, which isn't so useful, but I can add in an extra filter, minus type and path, and you can see, well, on this Rocky system, I have a couple of path unit files. If we want to take a look at them, the contents of them, then again systemctl will allow me to do this. Systemctl and the cat subcommand will allow me to take a look inside of a unit file. So if we go through and just grab one of these and hit the big enter key, we can then get an idea of what a path unit is made up from. And really it's that bottom two lines, the path header, and then we're looking for a directory not being empty, and if the directory doesn't exist, we can create the directory. Now, it doesn't say what it's going to do. The what it's going to do is going to be included inside of a service unit. So when we go through and look at the same name, but with the .service suffix, we can see then underneath the exec start that it's going to run the systemd tty ask password agent with the option wall. Now this is fine, we can get that it's going to be prompting for our password, but really if it's not something we work with, we're probably not going to understand it too much. So let's look at creating our own and see how we can gain an understanding. So I'm going to edit a file, so if we use sudo and vim or nano, whatever you prefer, and we can go through then and look at our own custom entries. So etc systemd and system. And then we're just going to call it bin.path. We can put in then our common areas. And that's going to be for us a unit header. And typically we have a description. And we can use this path unit to monitor our home directory and the bin subdirectory that we're going to create for changes, so we can add the execute permission to new files in the directory. So we've got monitor the bin directory for files without execution set. And it doesn't really matter that there's a spelling mistake here, but it's just a description, but we might as well tidy this up. So let's fix this up to be monitor. Now we can get away with just a description, so we don't need to do anything else, and then we can go into what makes up really our path unit, and that's the path section, and we can look for the path being modified, and that could be a file or it could be a directory. We're going to put in a directory, and we're putting in the full path to /home, /vagrant is my user account, /bin. And by modified, we're looking at the directory changes. But by adding content to the directory, the last modified time of the directory is going to change. So that's going to work on new content being added. We want to enable our service. So we can then go through and put wanted by our multi-user.target. The install section allows us to enable the service should we so wish. I'm just going to fix this up. I've got another typo here. So for my user account should be vagrant. So let's fix that up. Obviously, little typos like this is going to matter because we don't have the correct path. Then we can be wondering why it's not changing. So we can see here, it's really just these 3 lines and 3 headers that make it up. And this is probably as simple as we can get. But now that we've created it, we can go through and save it. The file that specifies what's going to be done is the corresponding service unit. So we can then go through and create bin.service. And again, we know how we're going to start off, don't we? We're going to put that unit area in, put in a description. And we can put really the same description before, but we can make it a little bit different. Add execute to files in the bin directory. And then we can get into our service header. So we can go through and put our service. We can specify the type because we don't have a long-running service here. It's just going to be running a script. So we can put type equals 1 shot. And then we're going to have to specify what runs when we start the service. So we've got our exec start equals. And then we're going to go through and put /home vagrant. Got spelling right this time. Bin. And set exec.sh. So we can then go through and run this script. It's this script that is going to check the execute permissions are set on files. So we can go through and save this. Now, of course, we've got to make sure the bin directory exists. We could have it create the bin directory, but then it's going to be owned by the root user. So it's probably better that we create the bin directory. And then inside of that, we can create our script to set the exec permissions. So we called it set exec.sh. And we can then go through and set our shebang. And then we can use the find command. This can be quite useful in itself. So if we go through and specify find, and we can look below home, vagrant, and bin. So we're searching for all files below the bin directory that are regular files, so type F, and are not executable. So we can put the exclamation mark minus executable. So all files below bin that aren't already executable, we're then going to run a command minus exec. And of course we're running chmod all plus x on the found file. And we need to end it with the escaped semicolon. And that's it. Find can be really useful, so I do recommend spending a little bit of time on find if it's new to you, but it is a really powerful command. We can then make sure that this is executable, because remember, it's this script itself that is executed by our service, so this needs to be executable. And now we can go through and tell systemd that we've changed the path and service unit. So it knows about those. Now at this stage, we probably should go and enable our path unit. But if I go through and just check inside of my bin directory, we can see then there's the file that I've created. It is executable, but remember, we set the execute permission manually on that. We probably should check that it does actually work. Now, of course, we've got nothing that it's going to set on, but don't worry, it's not coming back with any errors, so that looks good that our script is going to work. Now, to test our path unit, we can go through then and vim, bin, let's create a new script. Creating a new script is going to change the last modified time of the directory, because ultimately creating a new file in the directory is writing to the directory. We're just going to keep it really simple, just echo hello, and then save it. Now, we know files aren't executable by default, but if we go back and do a long listing now of the bin directory, we can see the new file my.sh is there, and it has the execute permission being configured. So this has been fired by my path unit. The path unit monitors the specified path and triggers the service. The service then runs my script. So now anything that I add to the directory is going to automatically get the execute permission set. And we can go through and actually take a look at this. So if I run systemctl and status and take a look on my path unit, so we can go through and put bin.path. Now we can then go through and see that we're active and monitoring for changes. Of course, the work is going to be done by our service unit. And when we look at the service unit, we can see then that it was triggered at 11:26 as we added then the execute to files inside of our bin directory. So we've now automated the process of ensuring files are executable inside of our bin directory by using path units.
All that is left to say is thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this, then you are probably sadder than I first thought. For more of this drivel, please subscribe, like and comment to @TheUrbanPenguin.